Hey everyone, it's the Future here, and today we're going to do something a little bit different, and that's a viewer's question. Hey, how about that? I did a video on a Talvocoder, and I got a question on it, and I figured it would probably be faster to make a video than to try to explain in text what is going on here. So here we go. This is a question by K. Michaels, who says, great video. I've just had to use my Tel for business purposes. Very interesting. But I realized I've had it in my plugins and never took advantage of the carrier modulator button. Sort of due to DOS, but he's starting to get into music and he's wondering how I set it up so I get Anna to work with Tel. So the routing for that is the main question that he has. So let's dive into that, shall we? For this example, I'm going to use a vocal loop because that's going to beat my personal vocals. And we're going to use Anna. So what we are going to make is this Anna patch. And it is going to be the vocoder for this vocal loop. Here we go, a little demo. And I am playing Anna with a MIDI keyboard on the side. So how do we get to this point? And probably the easiest way to show you is by just throwing everything away and showing you. Here we go, all tracks begun. So we start off with our vocal track, and this can also be a vocal in. If you're using a microphone, you can just make this a recording vocal track. One thing I would advise is using this layout because it just makes things a little bit easier. And you can set this layout with the options, layouts, track panel, and it's the B option. And this gives you the route button. It's also in the mixer next to the track, but it's just a little bit easier to have it here. So what we're going to do now is we are going to set up one channel. It's this channel we will put on the Talvocoder. Let me actually get the mixer out of the way. So this will just be Talvocoder. And we are going to drag this track, which is just the vocal.
Who are you to say that you still...
No effects on that, underneath this track. So now this vocal track is sent into the vocoder track. Nothing happens if we play this back because the vocoder only has one signal right now. So if we want to hear this in effect, we can set this to MIDI. And now if we play the MIDI controller. Now this is probably the point you already got to. I will lower the volume a little bit. Now the neat thing of this is that you can quite easily record MIDI here and change it while not having to mess with overlapping things, because technically you could do the MIDI in the same track as the audio, but it gets a little bit sloppy. So let's do it like this. So this is our vocoder track. And this is our voice track. So this could also be your microphones. If you want to sing something in, you can just say input, mono, take your microphone feed, arm this as well. Although vocoding is usually smarter to do after the fact because there's always some latency stuff. So it's a little bit cleaner to record your vocal and then do the vocoding step. Right. So this is just the basic workings of Tel. You probably already figured this out. So how do we get Anna involved? For that we're going to use the sidechain function. Tel also has a left-right system, but I don't really want to go into that because the sidechaining is just a lot cleaner to do. So we are going to make a new track. This is our sidechain. What we do here is we select our MIDI controller. That's our MPK Mini in this case. Arm it. And we load in Anna. Here we go. Actually, the base patch is pretty... pretty suitable for doing this sort of stuff. So let's actually use this patch. Now there are two things we want. First off, we don't want Anna to just be blasting into our track, because that's not what we want. And we also want it to go to tel. So what we do here is in tel we click this little 2 for in to out thingy. Brings up this little dialog box. And we tell it to have 4 channels. So now our first 2 channels are the inputs. So that's our voice. And the second 2 channels, channel 3 and 4, are our sidechain channels. We need to enable the input mode and the sidechain. That's step 1. Now we basically prepared or Talvocoder for receiving a sidechain input, and now we need to actually make this sidechain input, and for this we can drag this route button onto the route button of the vocoder. And you will get this little dialog box. We want to input it into channel 3 and 4, that's our sidechain channels. We want to disable MIDI. So what happens now is when we play Anna, you will see these little bars appear in the vocoder track. That means that this signal is now going to track 3 and 4 from the vocoder. Downside being that we still get the Anna sound right now. So what we also need to do is we need to click the route button. And we need to disable the master send. So now when we play something, you can still see the bars light up in Anna and in the sidechain input, but you can't actually hear it. And now we should be set. So if we play back now, and we wait for this to die out. Pretty long release. Okay, so nothing happens because we only have one signal. And if we start to play Anna now, there you go. Would always advise putting on the chorus. Or preferably use an external chorus because you don't have many options here. So that's basically your entire setup for using a external synthesizer. You could put anything here. You can put any synthesizer here. You can put a vocal here. Actually pretty trippy. Let's take this second paragraph, second phrase thing, toss it in there.
Who are you to ask me for a chance when you're the only reason why?
It's pretty weird.
Who are you to ask me for?
Yeah, that's basically our entire setup for that. He also asked a second question, and that's how to do dry wet. Actually very simple in Reaper because it has a dry wet button right here at the top. So if you just pull this down, then you actually make sure you're in the looped area.
Who are you to say that you still want me when it was you who said goodbye?
You can actually dry wet right here.
Who are you to say that you still want me when it was you who said goodbye?
Must say that with vocoders it's not always the prettiest thing to have a lot of wet in there, so probably keep it pretty wet.
Are you certain that you still want me when it was you who said goodbye?
And that's that. Hopefully that answers your questions. If there are any more questions about sidechaining in Reaper, just let me know. And for now, have a great day.